It was a quiet Tuesday morning at JFK Airport. People moved through the terminal in that familiar airport rhythm. Fast, focused, impatient. Travelers clutched their coffees and dragged their carry-ons, racing to beat boarding times and long security lines. Everyone had somewhere to be. Everyone had a story. Marcus Daniels was no different. Tall, with calm eyes and a posture that radiated discipline, Marcus walked with quiet purpose. He wore a simple navy hoodie, dark jeans, and comfortable sneakers. Nothing flashy, nothing loud. In one hand, he carried a worn leather briefcase. In the other, a paperback book, Leadership in Turbulent Times. He looked like any other professional traveler, and that was exactly the problem. Because when Marcus stepped into the jet bridge to board his first-class seat on Flight 227 to Los Angeles, he was met not with a welcome, but with suspicion, not from the airline staff, but from another passenger. A woman, mid-50s, dressed in a beige designer coat, expensive sunglasses still on her face, and a purse that probably cost more than most people's rent. She was already seated in 1B, sipping a sparkling water and scrolling through a phone. When Marcus approached and reached for the overhead bin, she glanced at him once, twice, and then spoke. "Excuse me," she said, her tone sharp. "Coach is behind us." Marcus paused, then smiled politely. "Yes, I know. My seat is 1A. She looked him up and down, then scoffed. "There must be some mistake. This is first class." He showed her his boarding pass, which clearly said 1A, but instead of accepting it, she clutched her handbag tighter and muttered something under her breath, something he'd heard far too many times in his life, something about people like you and lower standards these days. It was quiet, but just loud enough. Marcus stood tall. He didn't flinch, didn't argue. He simply waited. And after a tense few seconds, a flight attendant approached. The woman jumped to speak first. "I think he's lost. Can you check his ticket, please?" The attendant took Marcus's boarding pass, scanned it, and smiled warmly. "Mr. Daniels, welcome aboard. You're exactly where you're supposed to be." The woman frowned, shifting uncomfortably. Still, she didn't remove her purse from his seat. She made him wait as she slowly, deliberately, moved it to her lap. The whole cabin was watching now. Silently, Marcus took his seat. He didn't complain. He opened his book and began to read. But that wasn't the end of it. An hour into the flight, the woman tried again. "So," she said without looking at him, "what do you do?" Marcus glanced up from his book, his voice still calm. "I work in aviation." She chuckled, a sharp, condescending sound. "Oh, a flight attendant?" He shook his head. "No, I work in aviation infrastructure." She raised her eyebrows. "So, baggage, then?" Marcus didn't respond, not with anger, not with sarcasm, just a quiet smile and a return to his reading. That silence. It said more than 100 words could. What the woman didn't know, what she couldn't imagine, was that Marcus Daniels wasn't just in aviation. He was changing it. He had spent over 20 years in the Air Force, earning multiple commendations and rising through the ranks as a decorated officer. After retirement, he launched an aviation technology firm that had revolutionized aircraft routing systems. His innovations saved airlines millions in fuel and time. His work had been featured in Forbes, and just last month he had purchased a major stake in the very airline they were flying on. He didn't look like what she expected a powerful man to look like, and so in her eyes he was less than. But Marcus had learned a long time ago, people who judge you based on what they see on the surface aren't worth correcting. Sometimes it's better to let the truth introduce itself. And that's exactly what happened. As the plane began its descent into Los Angeles, the pilot's voice came through the speaker system. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest on board today. Please remain seated after landing as Mr. Marcus Daniels disembarks first." "Mr. Daniels, thank you again for your continued leadership in the aviation industry." The woman froze. She blinked once, twice. Then she looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. And just then, 2 airline executives entered the cabin. waiting just outside the cockpit. One held a tablet, the other a small camera crew. "Mr. Daniels," one of them said, "we're honored to welcome you. Thank you for your partnership and your vision." Marcus nodded politely, standing slowly. The cabin was quiet, all eyes on him. The woman's jaw fell slightly open. She didn't say a word. Her face flushed red. Marcus turned to her. His voice was calm, clear. "Next time," he said softly, "try treating people with respect before you find out who they are." Then he walked down the aisle, not with pride, not with vengeance, but with dignity. And maybe, just maybe, that walk said everything she needed to hear. Because here's the truth. Respect isn't something we give only to people we think deserve it. It's something we owe each other as human beings. Not because of someone's bank account, not because of their job title, a DD, but because every person carries a story you haven't heard yet.